Hi, my name's Hayley Johnson, and I'll be presenting on strategy 46 and 50. Today, I'll be discussing two highly effective teaching strategies designed specifically for supporting English language learners. Strategy 46, which is multimedia presentations, and strategy 50, which is combining and scheduling strategies. These strategies help create an inclusive classroom where students of all language proficiency levels are able to engage with content in meaningful and accessible ways. Whether you're teaching a math lesson or a science unit, these strategies will give you the tools to meet the diverse needs of your learners. Strategy 46, multimedia presentations. This strategy involves the use of visual and auditory aids such as videos, images, sounds, and even music to present content. The goal is to make complex or abstract concepts easier for students to understand by appealing to multiple senses. Multimedia aids can engage students in a way that make the material more concrete, tangible, and memorable. It helps students connect new knowledge to real-world experiences and makes learning more accessible. Now, why is this strategy particularly effective for English language learners? For ELLs, especially those who are just beginning to develop their language skills, using visual and auditory elements in teaching offers crucial support. These students benefit from seeing and hearing words and concepts in different forms. This multi-sensory approach helps bridge the gap between abstract academic content and real-life understanding, reinforcing vocabulary and key concepts while improving comprehension. For example, a video might show how evaporation works in nature. The visual of water turning into vapor alongside the verbal explanation can solidify the concept in a student's mind even if they don't fully understand the vocabulary just yet. Let's imagine a classroom scenario where you're teaching about the water cycle, a concept that may be difficult for English language learners to grasp. You could begin by showing a video that explains how water moves through its various states: solid, liquid, and gas. During the video, key vocabulary words like evaporation, condensation, and precipitation are displayed on the screen alongside images of clouds, rain, and steam rising from the water. This visual support allows students to connect the words with images, which in turn makes the new vocabulary more understandable. The video's auditory elements, such as voiceovers explaining the terms, also helps reinforce the learning. Now let's think about how to apply this strategy for different proficiency levels. For pre-emergent/emergent students, these students are at the very beginning stages of English acquisition. For them, visuals like pictures, diagrams, and captions are incredibly valuable. When showing a video about the water cycle, you could pause the video at key moments and point to words as the relevant images are displayed on the screen. For example, as the video shows steam rising from boiling water, you can say, "This is evaporation," and highlight the word on the screen. It reinforces the connection between the word and the concept. For intermediate students at this stage, students have a bit more language proficiency. Here, it's helpful to mix visuals and verbal explanations. You might show a video about the water cycle and ask students to match vocabulary words with images after the video. You could display images of rain, clouds, and water, and have students write the corresponding words next to them. This encourages them to process the information more deeply. For advanced students can begin to produce their own multimedia projects. After watching a video, they could create a short story presentation explaining the water cycle using images, video clips, and their own words. This allows them to demonstrate their comprehension and use vocabulary in context. Let's now demonstrate an activity for pre-emergent/emergent students that utilizes strategy 46. Step 1, show a short video that explains the states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas. The video should include visuals of ice, water, and steam, with the corresponding vocabulary word shown on the screen. Step 2. After the video, prompt the students to point to specific parts of the video when you can name them. For example, say, can you point to the cloud when we talk about condensation? Or, can you show me the boiling water when we discuss evaporation? This interaction not only reinforces the vocabulary, but also provides kinesthetic engagement, helping students connect the content with physical actions. Next, let's move on to strategy 50, combining and scheduling strategies. This strategy is about organizing different instructional techniques and activities into a coherent sequence that helps students build upon their prior knowledge. The idea is to scaffold the learning experience by combining a variety of strategies that move from simpler to more complex tasks, ensuring that every student has the support they need to succeed. For English language learners, this structured approach helps make the learning process more manageable and ensures the continuous progress. So why is this strategy so effective for English language learners? When you combine and schedule different instructional strategies, you're ensuring that students are exposed to content in a scaffolded and gradual way. They can start with simple tasks and gradually move on to more complex ones as they gain confidence. By organizing lessons this way, you create a sense of progression and success, which is crucial for language learners who may feel overwhelmed at first. This structured approach allows students to build knowledge, practice, and apply their learning in meaningful ways. Let's consider an example of strategy 50 in action while teaching the water cycle. Step 1. Start with a visual support activity. Show an image of a forest ecosystem and label key elements like trees, animals, and the weather. This helps pre-emergent/emergent students connect vocabulary with real-world images and provides a foundation for further learning. Step 2. Move on to a collaborative activity, such as having students work in pairs to fill out a graphic organizer comparing two different ecosystems like a forest versus a desert. This activity encourages students to use their newly acquired vocabulary and compare concepts using sentence frames such as, the forest ecosystem has more blank than the desert. Step 3. Finally, increase the complexity with a written response task. Ask students to write a short paragraph explaining the differences between the two ecosystems, using the vocabulary they've learned. For example, they might write, the forest has more precipitation than the desert. The desert has very little rainfall. Now let's talk about how we can apply strategy 50 for different proficiency levels. For pre-emergent, emergent students, start with simple tasks. You might have them match pictures with words or label parts of a diagram. As their confidence grows, you can increase the complexity, encouraging more verbal or written responses. For intermediate students, ask them to provide both spoken and written responses. For example, after watching a video on the water cycle, students can describe the stages in a chart using sentences. Sentence frames like evaporation happens when ... can help structure their responses. For advanced students, challenge them to apply their knowledge in a more complex task, like a group discussion or presentation. After studying the water cycle, students might discuss how human activities like pollution impact the cycle. They will need to use academic vocabulary such as condensation and precipitation to frame their discussion. Now let's combine strategy 46 and strategy 50 into one integrated activity. Step 1, begin by showing a short video about the water cycle, highlighting the key terms such as evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. This is the multimedia presentation strategy 46. Step 2, after the video, use strategy 50 to scaffold students through different activities based on their proficiency level. For pre-emergent students, ask them to point to the cloud during the section on condensation. For intermediate students, have them work in pairs to fill out a chart describing each stage of the water cycle. For advanced students, put them in small groups to discuss how the water cycle affects the environment using the vocabulary and concepts they've just learned. So why does this combination of strategies work so well for English language learners? The use of multimedia presentations makes abstract concepts more accessible and helps students make connections with real-world phenomena. Combining and scheduling strategies ensures that students are gradually building their knowledge and practicing their language skills in a structured way. Together, these strategies provide scaffolding, engagement, and differentiation, all key to support the diverse needs of English learners. In conclusion, both Strategy 46 multimedia presentations and Strategy 50 combining and scheduling strategies offer powerful tools for teaching English language learners. By using visual and auditory aids, we can help students make connections between new vocabulary and real-world concepts. And by combining and scheduling strategies, we can create a supportive learning environment where students can progress at their own pace. I hope you've gained some valuable insights into these strategies and how you can implement them in your own classroom. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback.